Hello, I am Lorette Legan, President of the Jacksonville Onslow Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of the Chamber membership and our Board of Directors, I want to thank you for joining us for Forum Onslow. The Chamber works with government agencies on issues that affect our business community. We monitor legislative issues that impact local businesses. We promote partnerships between business, government, military, and education. And we use these forums to create awareness on topics that are important to our entire community, such as the elections of those today for the Onslow County Board of Education. Our sponsor for the Meet the Candidates Forum is the Jacksonville Board of Realtors. I would like to invite Christina Ashbury to please come forward.
Good afternoon, and thank everyone for being here. On behalf of the Jacksonville Board of Realtors, I want to thank the Jacksonville Onslow Chamber of Commerce for hosting today's Board of Education Candidate Forum. Strong schools are a cornerstone of strong communities. The decisions made by the Board of Education not only affect students and teachers, but also affect workforce readiness, neighborhood stability, and long-term economic health across Onslow County. As realtors, we know that when schools are strong, communities grow, and families have confidence in where they chose to live. Today is an opportunity to hear directly from the candidates, to understand their priorities, and to give voters the information that they need to make thoughtful decisions. Thank you to the candidates for stepping up and choosing to lead.
Thank you, Christina, and thank you to the Board of Realtors. Okay, Jared Patterson, the President and CEO of the North Carolina Business Alliance for a Sound Economy, will serve as today's moderator for this forum, and Lachey Cavers will keep you all on time. Jared, it's all yours.
Very good. Greetings and thank you to the candidates for participating in our candidate forum today for Onslow County Board of Education. Here are our basic rules for engagement. First, this is a forum and it's not a debate, so we ask that you address your responses to the questions that are posed to you, and that you would address the audience and not one another. All the questions are going to be general in nature. They're going to be suitable for all candidates. We also ask that you would adhere to the time limits. When you see a yellow light, then you're going to have about 30 seconds to end your responses. When you see a red light and you hear a buzzer, then your time is up, so please complete your sentence and stop. Please don't keep going, or else Lachey is going to have to throw a water bottle at you, and nobody wants that, okay? We're going to begin today with opening remarks. They're going to be 90 seconds. Each candidate's going to be able to, state your name, give some background information, all that good stuff. And then we're going to move to the question portion. We're going to alternate which candidate goes first for each round of questions. So with that, we're going to move to our opening remarks. Tell us about yourself, where you live, how long you've lived in the county, your occupation, community involvement, background, and do it all in 90 seconds or less. Ready, set, go, and we're going to begin with Doug Davis.
All right, Doug Davis, father of three who have entered and came out of the Onslow County School Board system. The reason why I'm running is during COVID, when I found out that ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and ESSER 3 funds put in by the federal government mandated the school board to implement the tyrannical rule that we had in our county. I was upset that masks were thrown on. If you look throughout history, it was used as a demoralization aspect on our community, and the fact that it continued on and continued on with a bunch of voices within the community, and it was ignored. So as a federal employee, and because of the Hatch Act, I could not run, and as of December 31st of my retirement, it opened the gate for me to run for the school board, because I think education is absolutely the cornerstone and key, and we have a serious problem with morality and ethics. And I have seen both sides come out of our school system, and I have a feeling, or I've seen in the last 5 years of me not being able to run and watching as an outsider, some people are beholden to some evil aspects, I think, within our community. And I'm ready for a change. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. And now we're going to move to Angie Todd.
Hi, I'm Angie Todd. I live with my husband of, well, it'll be 20 years this month. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary in Hubert. We are blessed with 4 children, 3 grandchildren. Our family made Onslow County home in 2019. We're originally from Ohio. I'm entering my 10th year in real estate, and I'm licensed in Ohio and North Carolina with my current office, Caldwell Banker Seacoast Advantage in Jacksonville. I volunteer as the director of the Onslow County Families of Addicts Support Group, also a member of the Onslow County Opioid Settlement Task Force. I'm the chairman of the North Carolina School Boards Coalition and a founding member of the North Carolina Coalition of Conservative School Board Members. And I'm also a board member with the New River YMCA and endorsed by the Stand for Health Freedom organization.
All right, thank you, Angie. Bill Lanier.
Hello, I'm Bill Lanier. I've served 20 years in the United States Marine Corps, came to Onslow County in 1982 with my wife, Mitsuko, who I lost in 2016. Currently, I'm the incumbent. I'm the current longest-serving member of the Board of Education. During my Marine career, I've been a formal schools instructor, a behavioral health, and after that, joined behavioral health care paraprofessional. I did special needs teaching assistants in Onslow County schools. And at this point, for the community, I am involved with the, I'm involved with the Salvation Army. And I also contributed to the Onslow County Republican Party's scholarship fund, the Link and Douglas Scholarship Fund. It's important that our schools are left unencumbered by social issues. And a balanced approach to the needs of students is a primary focus. A balanced approach to parents and the district are necessary. So policy is the most important part of process.
Thank you very much. Daisy Haywood.
Hello, my name is Daisy M. Haywood, and my husband and I will be celebrating 32 years of marriage this summer. We have 4 adult children, 5 grandkids, and 1 great-grand. 3 of my children started and finished their education in Onslow County schools. I am happily retired from the Jacksonville Police Department with 30 years of service. I am currently employed with Coastal Carolina Community College as a defensive driver instructor, so should you get a ticket and want your charges reduced, come see me. And with that means I work with our assistant district attorneys in our traffic court. And of course, this program is successful because we work in a partnership. I live in the Hubert area, and I'm currently a board member for One Place and Crime Stoppers. I am running because I have friends who have encouraged me to take this journey, and they know I care about this community, and they know that when I serve, I give it all my heart. The relationship that I have had and the experience with the school system as a parent, as a grandparent, and I also had the special connection when I was a school resource officer for the schools and for the DARE program. So that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bill Howard.
Yes, thank you. I'm Bill Halley. I've been a resident of Onslow County for over 40 years. I've been married to my lovely wife, Michelle, for over 50 years. We have 2 children, both grown adults who went through the school system here in Onslow County. My wife was also employed as a school teacher at Richlands High School, teaching biology and physics for over 30 years. I'm retired. I have been retired now for about 2.5 years. I worked for civil service. I worked on the base. And I'm running for the Board of Education because I want to make a difference. I want to be a voice. I want to be a voice for the parents, the students, the community. And I think I have a lot to offer. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. And then finally, David Green.
Thank you. My name is David Green. I moved here about 8 years ago from San Diego. Spent most of my career there building businesses and working there in the San Diego area. I was an expert negotiator during the short sale market as a real estate agent. I started negotiations with all the banks back when this was all brand new. And so it was quite interesting doing all the negotiations, and I think they enjoyed working with me. I was very document heavy. I made sure all the documents were in, all the paperwork was in. I work on documents. I don't work on emotion. I don't work on opinion. I do have a lot of opinions. You will see them when I'm on the school board. I grew up in a school system that taught children, and they taught us reading, writing, arithmetic, all the 3 R's that we used to talk about and joke about. And I would like to see the school systems get back to that teaching again. I think the biggest problem that I see, and part of the reason why I ran, I'm retired, by the way. I just recently retired, and I've got lots and lots of time to be able to focus on my job now. But I think I would like to see the kids get back to learning and not being indoctrinated.
All right. Thank you very much. That concludes our opening remarks. We're now going to move to our first question, and we're going to begin with Angie Todd for this question. Looking at the term ahead, if you are successful in your election, what would you like to accomplish during your term on the school board?
I would like to continue with safety protocols. Also, teacher retention, I think, is a big thing. We need to focus on how can we keep the environment for our teachers positive. I think we need to give them access to speak when they're concerned about things, so they can share that and we can continue to grow our district.
Very good, thank you. We're now going to move with the same question to Bill Lanier. What would you like to accomplish during your term on the school board if elected?
Primarily ensuring that teachers have the opportunity to teach. Since the 1920s, schools have been tasked with probably 4 items that teachers had to do other than teach. Today, and starting at year 20 or 2000, teachers have been inundated with lots of things to do other than teach. What I would like to do is work with the superintendent and the board to ensure that teachers have a more flexible means of teaching, including AI, which will free up their time so that they can apply it to the classroom. Also, the AI can be applied to the students as well, which gives them time to learn on their own while the teacher monitors their progress going forward.
Thank you very much. Same question. What would you like to accomplish during your term on the school board if elected? Daisy Haywood.
Well, as an outsider looking in, I think the retention of teachers and support staff might be something that we might need to go ahead and examine and figure out why that's occurring. I also like to go ahead and figure if we can go ahead and bridge the gap, meaning how can we get our community, our schools, all those that need to be involved as partakers to make a successful school system, that relationship. Also, I don't sometimes think we don't need to reinvent the wheel. I think maybe we might need to have a refresher course and to buy in and be committed to everyone's expectations. Expectations of what it is to teach, expectations what it is to learn, expectations to be that parent to support.
Thank you very much. What would you like to accomplish during your term on the school board if elected? Bill Halley.
I want to be a voice for everybody that's involved, the parents, the students. You know, we need to recognize the things that we're doing. We're doing a lot of things right, and so we need to concentrate on continuing that. And yes, we do have some things that we need to work on and be like that, but back to being the voice. I want to be a voice for the community. We need our community to be involved in our school systems. We need our parents involved in our school system. So I would like to work on that and get some more involvement, because when we have that, it strengthens our students and it strengthens our ability to provide the tools that we need for teaching our students.
Very good, thank you. And now what would you like to accomplish during your term on the school board if elected? David Green.
Thank you. I think first and foremost, I'd like to set a baseline for quality in education. There's, in my opinion, quality has slipped a lot, and we've fallen away from getting our students to make sure that they can read at a quality level, do math at a quality level. I'd like to get back to that, just teaching again. Another thing I understand is that I won't be in office forever. I'm going to go back into the community, just like all the rest of us are. These are the students that are going to be in charge of our community later. I want to make sure that they're given all the tools that they need to be able to function as leaders in this community when we're no longer the leaders anymore. I want to make sure that that's what's happening with our education. Thank you.
Very good. And then finally, the question to you, Doug Davis, what would you like to accomplish during your term on the school board if elected?
First off, common sense. Common sense needs to approach our school boards, and when making decisions that they actually promote better learning and setting up our children for success, because right now it's not. I've heard a bunch of things said along the table. There are root causes when nepotism and caring go to pay for master's degrees of those people and not the ones that are actually truly educating our children is demoralizing to our teachers. Ethics, when you have an already sitting board member and another one is running, that's a 2 vote. How unethical is that? Although it's not anything wrong with legal fiction. I just want transparency and people to speak truth. We're at that point, and we're failing our students. Thank you.
We're now going to move to our second question, and we're going to begin with Bill Lanier for this. What, in your estimation, is the biggest shortcoming or challenge that you see facing Onslow County schools, and how should the board address that?
The biggest shortcoming is parental knowledge and involvement. The schools are wholly adequate to provide everything that the students need. The teachers know precisely what to do. The superintendent is responsible overall for everything. We as a board, we oversee the superintendent only. We have to make sure that he is making sure that everyone's doing the job correctly. So when we look at school system and we take into consideration parental involvement, parents need to take charge of their students or their children. They need to be involved with their teachers. They need to understand what is going on in that child's life educationally and ensure that they are supporting that child in meeting the goals that are set by the teacher's standards in the classrooms.
Thank you. Same question. What is the biggest shortcoming or challenge that you see facing Onslow County schools, and how should the board address that? Daisy Haywood.
Let's see, shortcomings. Going back to my previous statement as far as expectations, to be the boss, there's a responsibility not only that you are in charge, but that you, if see a problem, you address it. If there are problems to be addressed, it needs to be documented, it needs to be addressed, it needs to be reshaped. Worst case scenario, if it's not up to par, then it needs to be eliminated. That would be, I would think, the shortcoming. If nobody is doing what they're supposed to do, if everybody does what they're supposed to do in their lane, we have success. We have open communication with one another and we're able to listen to one another. I think that's where we become successful.
Very good, thank you. The biggest shortcoming or challenge that you see facing our schools, and how should the board address that? Bill Halley.
I think the shortcomings we need to find a way to retain our teachers. That is a problem, because we have some good teachers, but we need to find something that we can do to keep them. We need to give them the tools to do their jobs. We need to listen to our teachers. We need to hear them and find out what they feel that the shortcomings are, and work with that and work towards that. And if we do that as a group and we come together, that's what we need to do. We need to work together instead of working against each other to accomplish these things.
Very good, thank you. David Green, the biggest shortcoming or challenge that you see facing Onslow County schools, and how should the board address that?
Thank you. I think I'm going to retouch on the shortcoming of parent involvement. I was a single parent for a lot of years. After losing a daughter, we had some difficulties, and so I became a single parent. And I was like the only father that showed up at PTA meetings and student meetings with teachers and office meetings and things like that. I was the only father that ever showed up there. And parents in general, it was hard. It was like pulling teeth to get them to show up, to be involved in their kids' education. I'd like to get back to that. I'd like to focus on getting parents involved again in their students' education. It's not the job of the school to raise your children. It is to teach, but not to raise. So the parents need to be involved in making sure that they're getting the education they need to, as well as the ethics and morals at home. I think that's one of the biggest things we need to focus on.
Very good, thank you. Same question now to Doug Davis. What you see as the biggest shortcoming or challenge that's facing our schools, and how should the board address it?
Real short, coercion fear. I think over the last course of 5 years, there's been a demoralization of our students in society. And when you have fear-based people in control, they tend to make decisions based out of comfort instead of necessity and need. Our education is rooted, I don't even know what it's rooted in anymore. We talked about DEI and how DEI is supposed to be out of our school system, and social emotional learning under the guise of the same name is within our school systems today. And I don't know if that's a bridge to overcome what David and others have echoed, the lack of parental involvement within our school system. That's another challenge that I wholeheartedly agree with. Parents need to get involved, and that's why we're all speaking to you and asking for your vote for transparency and change. Thank you.
And then finally, the biggest shortcoming or challenge that you see facing our schools and how the board should address it. Angie Todd.
So for me, our reading comprehension for our students, there's studies coming out now where they're saying that the reading comprehension has not been as well because of the screen time. So I would like to get back to the basics of doing paper and pencil versus sitting in front of the computers as much as they do. I know when I was elected on the board in 2022, we had 18 low-performing schools. We're down to 5 now. And as a board, we've done 3 resolutions, well, 1 letter and 2 resolutions in the last year asking for a rise in teacher pay, which has been rolled into HB 192. And that is sitting in the budget, hopefully to be approved when that happens. We've also did a resolution, a EC resolution requesting adequate funding for our district, as well as a resolution asking for stricter punishment for crimes against children. So as a board in the last year, we have already started taking action on things that we feel need to be addressed at the state level or local level.
Thank you. We're now going to move to our next question, and we just talked about challenges and shortcomings. Let's look on the other side. Where's the greatest strengths? Maybe pick one great strength that you see in Onslow County schools. Why is that a strength, and how should we build on that? And let's begin with Daisy Haywood.
I think one of our greatest strengths is just our community in itself by and large. We are in a unique community. We have the largest military base on the East Coast. Guess what? That brings people from all 50 states and some other countries right in this small area known as Onslow County. So that is one major check mark that we have in our favor. I also think the school system acknowledges that fact, that they've been able to go ahead and implement different types of program that will not only have the students go the traditional route of going to college, but they have implemented those technical fields as well. So it's always evolving, which I think I enjoy that about Onslow County school system and the people that live here.
Very good, thank you. What's one great strength about Onslow County Schools? Why is it a strength, and how should we build on that? Bill Halley.
The strength I believe in is the opportunities that Onslow County allows their students to be a part of, especially dear to me, close to me and my heart, because of the trade field that I was in was our trades building out there, and where kids can go and, they have the opportunity to learn welding. They have opportunities to HVAC mechanics, working on cars, and you have your culinary out there. So to me, that's a great strength because, we have businesses and not everybody's going to continue their education, further their education once they leave. And we're giving them the skills to go out and to work with our companies that provide HVAC and electrical and whatever. So that's near and dear to me.
Very good. Thank you. And the same question now. A great strength of our schools, why is that a strength, and how should we build on that, David Green?
I think in our community in general, one of the greatest strengths that we have today is that the kids that are growing up today have access to every piece of information they can get a hold of. And with that being said, I don't think it's being utilized properly. I think the kids today are growing up a little bit, I want to say, smarter. They're learning things a lot faster than we learned when I was a kid. I think that we need to utilize that in the school system. We need to, somebody had mentioned AI. That's one of the things that it can be a little scary on one side, but it can also be very useful on the other. And I think that that might be something that's a little bit more useful in the school system today. But we have strong kids. We have smart kids. They catch on very quickly. And I think we need to utilize that in the teaching process.
Thank you. Doug Davis, what is one great strength of our schools? Why is that a strength, and how should we build on that?
One of the great strengths is parents and the rest of the community. It's a melting pot. There's a huge pool or talent pool of veterans who have skill sets that don't really truly tie to war, but are knowledgeable, are experts at policy, and it should be a way approach and build upon to our teacher shortfalls and a lot of the other community shortfalls. I think it boils down to there's so much positive, so much good within the community. We just need to draw on it, and people need to show up. We are human. AI does not take care of the human interaction capacity that we have to have. And since COVID, it has separated everybody. And I think that is truly another part of the issue that we have is everybody's compartmentalized. And truly, I think we are all on the same page. Thank you.
Thank you. Angie Todd, great strength of our schools. Why, and how should we build on it?
I think my first 2 years on the board were kind of rough. I think a lot of people are aware of that. I think in the last year, we've learned to work together. I think people forget that as a board member, you're in a governing role. And yes, you have to work together as a board and find things that you can make the community better, but you have to be in the community. You have to govern, and you have to address situations that aren't always comfortable, and that's your position as a board member. So, but I think there's a lot of potential there, and that we made a lot of progress in the last 3 years.
Thank you. And then finally, Bill Lanier, a great strength of our schools? Why is it a strength, and how should we build on it?
The strength is relationships. Relationships with the community. The community partnerships, say, for instance, with the CTE program over at the Skills Center. This gives students an opportunity to get into fields and get certificates before they're even graduated from school. The partnerships between businesses that support the career and technical education. Partnerships with parents, after-school programs, the footprint, say, for instance, of the YMCA, all kind of community organizations that are involved inside the school system. MENAC, they come inside the school system, they help to the students to actually manage their own personalities inside the environment. So relationships are the mainstay for this system.
Very good, thank you. School boards in North Carolina, they have both policy setting responsibilities and also operational oversight responsibilities. So here's your question. In your own words, and we're going to begin with Bill Halley on this one, in your own words, what is the role of a North Carolina school board member, and just as importantly, what is not the board's role?
Our role is to hire a superintendent and oversee a superintendent in his duties. Our roles that we don't do are the everyday running of the schools. The superintendent, that's his job. And that's about it.
Very good. Same question going to David Green. In your own words, what do you think the role of a North Carolina school board member is, and more importantly, perhaps, what do you think it should not be?
Well, as with any job, I've found out that there's boundaries within which I have to work. I think within those boundaries, I have to figure out the best way to make everything function on the board and to communicate with other board members and to make sure that we are all on the same page as best we can be. Now, that's not always going to be possible. We all know that when you get personalities on a board, sometimes personalities get in the way. But as an expert negotiator, that's one of my strengths, is to work with other people and to come together for a common goal, to get something accomplished. When you have gridlock and people are bumping heads, nothing is getting done. I want to make sure that that's not happening on the board when I'm a member of that board. I want to make sure that we negotiate, that we communicate, and that we're talking back and forth. And if there's a good point to be made, make it. If there's a good point being made by someone else, to shut up and listen.
Thank you. Question now to Doug Davis. What is the role and what is not the role of a school board member?
Not the role, the general governance of the system itself. That is definitely the superintendent's job. But to our job, the oversight, the expenditure, policy setting, that is totally in purview of the Board of Education. And sometimes I think that line is bled. So I'm defining it. If elected, I like it truly defined, whether what is the shadow BOE allowed to do compared to the Board of Education. There's been lines drawn and bled with personal experience that I don't have the time to share here, but everything that I'm talking about, I've had personal experience within our school system on. Thank you.
Very good. Question to Angie Todd.
And the roles of the board are, board member is oversight policy, the budget, and govern the superintendent as a whole. Things we shouldn't do, we can't come onto the board as one individual board member and make changes. We always have to understand that there has to be at least 4 of us to make those changes. And it's our responsibility to work together as much as possible, while at the same time overseeing and maintaining the responsibility you have to the community that elected you to make the right decisions for the community as a whole.
Thank you. What is and is not the role of a school board member? Bill Lanier.
the role has basically been explained by everyone else. You know, we do policy, we don't do administration. It's as simple as that. But beyond that, as board members, when we're interacting with the community, there's things we have to take into consideration inside our own wheelhouse, because we are a conduit for the community to actually reach in, and then us to get them connected to the people who are responsible for what they need. So in addition to that, we're responsible for assessing the needs of all stakeholders in the community. We are responsible for keeping the fundamental purpose of the curriculum at the forefront. In other words, the student is the focus. We have to monitor and assess the educational resources and service delivery, which means providing that back to the parents. We have to enhance the work environment for the teachers and provide flexibility for them and for the parents as well.
Thank you. And then finally, what is and is not the role of a school board member in your estimation, Daisy Haywood?
And doing a little bit of research to make sure I understood what exactly do I do on the school board. That's exactly it. Yes, we are all individuals. We have certain ideas, but at the end of the day, when we're sitting on this board, we are a team. And the goal is to make sure that policies are in place, our students are getting the instructions that they need, that they are excelling, the everyday aspect of how the schools are being run, that is not our lane. On the other side, as Mr. Lanier mentioned, we are an unofficial ambassador, but we need to always remember what our place is as that ambassador. So should there be any questions, should there be any concerns, that we can be that ambassador to lead that parent, that student, that staff person, the teacher, whomever, to the right resources. But it's here to go ahead and come together and get a job done.
Thank you. I'd like us now to think for a moment about student outcomes. And this question is going to go first to David Green. How should we think about student outcomes, and what should be done to improve student outcomes?
Well, this kind of goes back to what I was saying during my opening comments here. When I finally leave this board, I'm going back into the public. And these children are going to be leading us. This is our future. We need to make sure that when these kids leave school, that the education doesn't stop, that they are excited about learning, that they seek out information. I think in a lot of cases, kids hate school, and they hate it for a good reason in a lot of cases. I think we need to make it so that kids are excited about learning, and they go into the world after they leave school with that same excitement, that they want to learn, they want to educate themselves, they want to think for themselves. And I think that's one of the biggest things right now, is that we need to make sure they are thinking for themselves, making decisions based upon good, sound judgment.
Thank you. Same question now to Doug Davis. How should we think about student outcomes, and what do you think should be done to improve student outcomes?
One, get rid of the test-based outcomes, because not everybody is the same. I think traditionally, well, not traditionally, over the course of the last couple of years, the school system has tried to level the playing field, push students into boxes that they don't fit. I think we should actually assess and look at our kids and draw on their gifts. I knew at 4 years old my son was awesome at math. I knew my daughter loved art. When there's a passion and a childlike nature of school and learning, it sticks with them. And what better way to inject a school-age kid, or once they graduate into society, is their passion about what they do. The other aspect is, we're comparing test scores right now to 2021, and they're lower than they were before Florence and Convid. I think truth and transparency of actually what's going on with our school system needs to come up too as well. Truth outcomes.
Thank you. The question now, how should we think about student outcomes, and what should be done to improve student outcomes? Angie Todd.
I think I already touched on the getting away from the screen time so much and getting back to paper and pen. I would like to see more of that. I also think that that we need to get back to support systems, just community-based ones. I know we have a lot of that already in Onslow County, because I agree that all kids don't learn the same. And I'd like to see, because I do lunch bunch for the kids, so I think a lot of times we focus on all the great things that are coming out of Onslow County schools, but I think at the same time we have to be looking at the places where we can be stronger and more supportive of our children that don't necessarily have a good home life or circumstances outside of the school system.
Thank you. How should we think about student outcomes, and what do we need to do to improve student outcomes? Bill Lanier.
Student outcomes are relationship-driven. A lot of people don't consider that. But the relationship between teachers and students is paramount. It's that mutual respect and the teachers providing what the students need. If the students are getting adequate information and the teachers are allowed to apply it to them in a timely manner, we can use various methods for getting more teaching or more education into the kids' brains while the teachers are actually monitoring other things. Again, parental involvement is the major role in ensuring that kids make mission as to outcomes. Once that's settled, the student comes to the classroom unencumbered by problems at home when they're being helped at home.
Thank you. Student outcomes, how should we think about them, and what should we do to improve them? Daisy Haywood.
All right, student outcomes, there's always room for improvement. My understanding here recently, there has been some good news with the Onslow County school system that some of the testing has improved. There has been some growth with academics, so I appreciate that, but we all know there's still more that's needed. I will also go ahead and kind of piggyback on Ms. Todd. She is so correct. Kids, they carry more than books in that book bag. You don't know what the circumstances are. Are they eating at home? Are they getting emotional support at home? Do they even have a home? So I know that there are things in place as far as she describes the lunch bunch and probably other teachers and support staff that may provide a little something extra, but there might be, I think, something that we can figure out. What can we do to better equip? We don't have a magic wand to change their circumstances. We may not have that magic wand to maybe change the parental's interaction with the children or how to raise their kids, because you don't want to get involved with that. But I think that's a part of it as well, to get involved in what do they have in their book bag.
Thank you. Student outcomes, how should we think about them? What should we do to improve them? Bill Halley.
We need to start with our students. We need to find out maybe where their plans are to go in life. You know, we afford a lot of opportunities for our children, different opportunities. We have the early college. We have ROTC in schools for those that when they finish their education, they high school education, they may want to go in the military. Again, the trade school out there, we can teach our kids a trade, and when they leave high school, they could go to a company or a business and get a job, and then most of the time a job, they'll give you opportunities to advance your education once you go with them to learn their trade and be a part of them.
Very good, thank you. All right, we're now going to turn to a question about budgets. In some states, local school boards get to levy taxes directly, and North Carolina is not one of them. So here, school boards must work within state funding formulas and county appropriations, or as something that my kids hear a lot, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. So budgets become a matter of prioritizing. So here's your question, and we're going to begin this one with Doug Davis. How would you set priorities for what gets funded and for what doesn't?
Again, using common sense approach, and I'll use an example, the YMCA pool. My son is currently a senior and swims, and I have to travel to Winterville to watch my son swim, and he has to practice in Cape Carteret. The $3 million of money that the school board, ultimately the county as well, so $6 million to the YMCA, to build a pool that we can't even utilize for any type of school programs. It was shoved in our face, oh yes, we can practice there, but it cannot hold the meet. So again, smart decisions on money, and they should benefit the whole of the student body and the teachers, not just bits and parts like it has been. Thank you.
Thank you. Bring the question now to Angie Todd. How would you set priorities for what gets funded and for what doesn't?
Well, I think any learning needs to be prioritized, obviously. And then support systems outside of that. I would like to see more transparency in breaking down what that money is spent on. I know for us, we see a line item budget, but there's never really any conversations to the extent that I would like to see as somebody that's been elected inside to the board that didn't come from the education system and doesn't understand a lot of the little inner workings that goes on.
Thank you. Bill Lanier, how would you set priorities for what gets funded and for what doesn't?
As far as funding priorities go, we have an amazing funding formula that was worked out with the county commissioners after Florence. The community came together and we had come to Jesus moment, you might want to say, as to what we should be focusing on. The school system has a specific footprint dollar-wise. We worked it out to be a percentage, and then we worked it out so that the funding formula is flexible. As far as priorities go, everything inside the school system is a funding priority. Everything has its own category, its own importance, and those line items are the public's access, because anyone in the public can see our budget. Those line items describe precisely where those funds are used. Now, if we want to go down to individual classrooms and kind of nitpick what teachers are doing, that is not going to happen at any level. But be assured, the funds are being adequately used.
Let's have an audit.
Thank you. The question now comes to Daisy Haywood. How would you set priorities for what gets funded and for what does not get funded?
Well, as a newbie and not understanding or have seen the budget in place, I can go upon my experiences in being involved on the board with one place and their budget and deciding what goes forward, what does not go forward, what is in the best interest of the students. Personally, I don't get a medal for that, but I can stretch $1 now within my own household budget. So I definitely will bring the common sense factor. You know, if it's not needed, there's no need to fund it.
Very good. Question now goes to Bill Halley. How would you set priorities for what gets funded and for what doesn't?
That's one thing. I don't believe that the board gets into the day-to-day operations of the board, are the funding. We do have I do believe that our schools and our not HR, but our finance officer in the school, they set the budget and they send it to the board to be approved, and then of course the board takes it to the county commissioners to be approved. And again, as Mr. Lanier said, there's a formula that was set a few years ago, and that's the way we go about that. So the day-to-day operations are the day-to-day funding. That's the superintendent and his peoples.
Very good, thank you. The question now goes to David Green. How would you set priorities in terms of what does and does not get funded?
Thank you. I think for me, coming from the real estate world, especially in the short sale negotiations end of it, like I had mentioned before, so many people lived for today and didn't think about what was going to happen tomorrow. We have to look at the budget based upon what the outcome is going to be. At the end of this, what's going to happen? Is this going to further the education of our children, or is the money going to be wasted on something that's not necessary? I think we need to start looking at the outcome. Where is the money being spent? Is it being spent responsibly? And I don't care what the item is, I don't care what the subject is. We need to look at the outcome. And that's the problem. And that's why so many people lost their homes. They didn't think about tomorrow. They thought about today. And what can we do today to get my payment down a tiny little bit? But tomorrow I lost my house. And that's what a lot of people ended up saying. So I think we need to start looking at outcome-based budgeting.
Very good, thank you. All right, it's report card time. And it's time for you to assign a grade to Onslow County Schools, A through F. What is that grade? Why did you give that grade? And what should the Board of Education do in response to that? We're going to begin this question with Angie Todd.
Wow, no pressure there.
No, none whatsoever, thank you.
I don't even have think time on that. Okay, grade and why. That's a hard one because I know in some areas we're excelling and I know in some areas we need to improve. And I don't think that will ever stop. I would have to say B to C. I know that when, like I said, when I got on the board, we had 18 low-performing schools and we're down to 5 now. So the teachers and students and executive staff and the board have all been working really well together, really hard to get those grades up so that they can be more proud. But I still think as far as the community engagement and other factors that we could be working harder to build those relationships.
Thank you. Bill Lanier, you get to give a grade. What is the grade that you would give Onslow County Schools? Why? And what should the board do in response to that?
I'd give Onslow County Schools a grade of A. The reason I give the school system a grade of A is because the school system is nimble enough to deal with the contingencies, any problems that come up. They do the day-to-day operations. They educate kids continuously. They deal with parental problems. They deal with systemic problems, meaning infrastructure and all types of things. We're feeding kids all the time. We're busing kids all over the county. And here's the takeaway. There's no such thing as perfection, and everybody needs to understand there's no such thing as perfection. Everything is a work in progress and continuous improvement all around, 24/7, 100% effort by all hands on deck. I actually love this school system, and I would give them no less than a grade of A.
Same question now to Daisy Haywood. What grade would you give our schools? Why? And what should the Board of Education do in response to that grade?
All right, I will give the school system a B. And just to share a little bit of facts to think about, out of our 100 counties, there's actually 115 school districts. We're the 11th largest one. Think about that, 11th largest. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. We're responsible for a lot of students, a lot of staff, a lot of teachers. We talked about some of our shortcomings. That's why you're graded as a B. We still have work to do, retention. You know, what's going on with our teachers? What's going on with our bus drivers? What's going on maybe with other support staff? We already talked about that. Can we better possibly make better the test results, or I should say maybe a better way to go ahead and grade that learning that our kids receive? So there's always room for improvement. But I too share the banner that I love Onslow County Schools. I enjoyed it as a parent. I enjoyed and learned as a school resource officer. Thank you.
We're going to take the question now. The grade that you would assign Onslow County Schools, why are you giving that grade, and what should the Board of Education do in response to that? Bill Halley.
Well, both of my colleagues here, Mr. Lanier and Ms. Haywood, kind of stole my thunder on this. So Bill wants to give them an A, and Daisy wants to give them a B. I'm going to give them a B+. And the reason I'm going to do that is because we do have some schools that's not up to level, and they're not getting the job done. But overall, I don't have any complaints with Onslow County Schools. My 2 kids went through it. I've seen many and many kids go through Onslow County Schools and go through their system, and they come out good, law-abiding, working citizens of Onslow County, and we have it. They come back, they're teachers, they're principals. We even have a superintendent that went through the system. So it's not all that bad. Do we have things that we need to work on? I'll be the first to tell you that we do, and we're working on them daily. And it takes time to change things and to get different results.
Very good, thank you. What grade would you give our schools, David Green? Why?
Well,
And what should be done?
a little different than the rest of the table here, I believe. I'm coming in from the outside. I'm running for this school board position because I got tired of seeing some of the stuff that's going on and the lack of cohesion on the board. I'm going to give them a C. And the very reason I'm running and sitting in the seat right now as a retired individual, I would like to be on the board and work with other people and communicate with other people to make this work. The problem is egos get in the way sometimes. Opinions get in the way sometimes. I can appreciate the excitement about the job being done on the board by someone who's been on the board. I have not been here, and I've been sitting from the outside looking in. And I was finally spurred on to run for this position because I can't stand to watch some of the things that are going on anymore and people not communicating properly. I think that's where we need to head.
Thank you. Doug Davis, you get to give a grade. What is that grade? Why are you giving it? And what should be done about it?
Grade level, I would have to compartmentalize it, not an overall grade, maybe overall grade a C, but some fall into Fs and Ds, teachers, a lot of them in the As. A prime example of what's happening right now, we're basing our improvement in the school system on 2021. 2017 and 18, our school system actually had better outcome of numbers and everything. What happened in between? A demoralization of our students, like I said several times over, and we're basing what we're teaching our kids right now of a small growth. I have watched friends and families, kids go to college and not even make the first year because they weren't adequately set up within the school system. So depending on your perspective and your touch and what you, even with your own students in the system, it's a variance of grade. So we'll probably overall, let's give it a C. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. All right. We've talked today about a lot of different ideas, different perspectives. So we kind of come to this question of, now what? If you find yourself getting elected and sitting on a board, you may be sitting with folks with whom you don't always agree. How are you going to work together with your fellow board members and with your administration to drive improvement? We're going to begin with Bill Lanier.
I will continue to do what I have been doing. And I had made those points whenever the previous term had started. It's all about communicating with your fellow board members. It's all about board member education for board members to understand the role and how to craft policy, how to balance policy, where our quasi-judiciary role stands, and then to take a neutral position concerning all parties. At any given point, parents may be litigious against the system. The system may become litigious against the board. When we sit in a neutral position and we adhere to policy, we can then do a global assessment of what happens inside and outside the system and simply do the governance. It's as simple as that.
Thank you. Daisy Haywood, how would you work with your fellow board members and the administration to drive improvement in our schools?
Well, first, you got to make sure you take some self-inventory and make sure you hang up your ego, that you are stepping in, you understand the importance of your role, and you understand that it is a collaborative effort. It is not by just one person. And when you are working with others that have or may have different opinions and ideas, that is not only interesting, but it is a challenge, but there's a matter of respect. Are we able to go ahead and, when it's all said and done, agree to disagree, and for the best, for the best cause of our students and the school system, can we come up with the proper conclusion?
Thank you. Bill Halley, how are you going to work with your fellow board members and with the administration to drive improvement in our schools?
Go and listen. Go and hear what they've got to say. And I'm going to hear, I want them to hear what I have to say, and we have to come together and agree on something. And we have to agree on it for what's betterment for the children in our schools. That's what we're here to do, is to teach our kids and to get them to the place that they need to be. So we've got to come together. We can't have an agenda. If you got a personal agenda, you don't need to be on this board. We need to work together. Yes, we got differences, but we can work it out, and we can talk it out, and we can do the things that's best for the children of Onslow County. Thank you.
Thank you. David Green, how are you going to work with your fellow board members and with the administration to drive improvement in our schools?
I think Ms. Haywood said it best when she started out with putting your ego in the backseat. I think that's one of the biggest things. When I'm on a board with all of the folks that are sitting here, we have to come to some kind of a decision, a good decision, based upon what's best for our children, what's best for the kids. You asked about outcome before. What's best for the outcome? How are they going to leave that school when they're all finished with their 12 years? Are they going to be well-educated? So we need to work together. Egos need to go in the back seat. This isn't a personal crusade for anybody on this board. We may all have strong ideas and opinions, but when it gets right down to it, my opinion is only one on the board. We need to all sit down and figure out how we're going to make this work together and what is best for the kids. That's what this whole job is about, our children.
Thank you. Doug Davis, how are you going to work with your fellow board members and with the administration to drive improvement in the schools?
Echo the same thing, ego. I think a lot of decisions need to be based on facts and a little bit of objective reality, not what you think or what we thought we knew. There's been an evolution and stream of wisdom with the introduction of AI and a handful of other things. I think collectively, those that are rightfully elected to the board should be able to have those hard discussions based on facts and not kicking in a can, which has been the previous actions for the last 12 years that I've been part of the system. I've brought things up, policy and everything else, and policy is not even, there's no accountability, and it starts with self-accountability. And accountability needs to happen, and I don't know what judicial aspect the board has. Should be none against our Constitution, but anyways, thank you.
Very good. And now, Angie Todd, how are you going to work with your fellow board members and with the administration to drive improvement?
Well, I'm going to do the same thing I've been doing for 3 years now. I'm going to find ways to make the school system better. I'm going to look for different things or issues that come up in the school system and find ways to work with my school board members, as I have done in the last year, to make things better, whether it be at local or state level. I think a lot of people forget when you are elected to the school board that you're not, it doesn't come with a handbook and nobody has laid out instructions for you. You kind of got to learn as you go. And so maybe the first year's a little bumpy, but as a incumbent, I think it's my responsibility to walk that walk with the new board members until they feel comfortable, and then we can all figure out what our strengths and weaknesses are and have a mutual respect for each other at the end of the day.
Thank you. All right, it's time for some closing remarks. When you interview for a job, experts, whoever experts are, experts say that you should always end the interview by articulating why you want the job. Tough problems, long hours, late nights, low pay, sometimes maybe a fickle boss or 215,000 bosses to be more precise. Being a school board member sounds like a great job. Why do you want this job? Why do you want this job at this time? I would ask you to articulate that for us. We're going to give you a minute 30 on the clock. Tell you what.
There we go.
We got it? All right. Wonderful. We're going to give you a minute 30 on the clock to tell us, why do you want this job and why do you want it now? And we're going to begin with Daisy Haywood, and we're going to end with Bill Lanier. Ms. Haywood, take it away.
All right, say the question again.
Your closing remarks, why do you want this job?
Okay. Why do I want this job? And you also say, why now, right? All right. For those who know me personally or professionally, if you haven't figured out, I like to serve. I like to serve. I believe in our community. Like I said, I can no longer be kicked out, being a former transplant. I am wholeheartedly invested in this community. As far as why now, the opportunity that I'm happily retired, the Coastal Community College and the courthouse, that is a part-time endeavor. I have the time, I have the energy, I have the passion. And again, when I serve or when I become part of something, you've got me wholeheartedly. And then to find out also on this particular board, I receive training. So it's not like, you're just going to get a bunch of paperwork and figure it out. And I already heard from Ms. Todd. She's willing to go ahead and kind of take the new board members under her wing. So that's why I want to do it.
Very good. Thank you. Closing remarks. Bill Halley, why do you want this job at this moment in time?
You know, I want this job. I've want this job because I believe in Onslow County school system. I believe in the work that we're doing. But I've also been a part since the day I enrolled my daughter in school in 1979. I've been a parent. I've been a volunteer. I've been a husband to a wife that served in the Onslow County school system as being a teacher. I've got a lot invested in it. I want to be a voice for those that feel like they don't have a voice. I want to be a part of the community. I want the community to be a part of it, and I want to see that through. It's not about the pay. I'm retired. I'm fine pay-wise. I've got the time. I listen. I'm a good listener. I'll help solve problems if I can. If I can't get you the answer, I'll find somebody that can. I'll work hard at it. I don't have nothing but time on my hands. No, I could be on the golf course. I can do that. I can still do that, but I can still do this job. I want to be a part of Onslow County school system. Thank you.
Very good. Closing remarks from David Green. Why do you want this job at this moment in time?
Because I'm needed. You know, I retired, and it's real nice being able to do the things I want to do, get up when I want to get up. But when I see what's going on, when I see that our kids need leadership, and I don't mean leadership from the teachers, that certainly is necessary, but leadership all the way from the top, from the school boards. I want to see that the school board is doing the appropriate job. I could stay retired, I could go home and just enjoy myself. But I think I'm going to enjoy myself a lot more knowing that I'm doing something that's important. I think that's the biggest thing. I want to do something that's important, that makes a difference. When it gets right down to it, I answer to one person in the end, and that's God. I want to be standing before him someday, and he's going to say, well done. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Now, I have 3 kids that have all told me, Dad, We understand why you were hard on us. We understand why you said and did the things that you did, and thank you. I have 3 responsible adult children now. I also have 4 grandchildren that are all going to be growing up in the system. And I want to make sure that my grandkids have the same opportunities that I had through education. So when it comes to March 3rd or your early voting, make sure Grandpa Green is the one that you start looking at.
Very good, thank you. Closing remarks. Doug Davis, why do you want this job at this moment in time?
Coincidentally, I think I was set up for this. Like I said, I've been trying to or wanting to run for a number of years, and because of uncommon sense rules, we're not allowed to. So perfect opportunity to retire from federal service, where decisions that I had to make were to save lives in an immediate aspect, to bring that skill set of my analytical mind, logistical mind, policy writing mind that I've done for the Marine Corps for 25 years, to bring it fresh in a different aspect to our school system. I'm different. I'm open kimono. My delivery sometimes sucks, so I apologize. I'm blunt. I'm honest. I'm not afraid to learn, and that's part of my slogan is students first. We're all students first. And common sense. Common sense has been a big one. Leave it short and simple as that. I'm here for the parents, the teachers, the students, everybody for their voice, truly. Thank you.
Thank you. Angie Todd, your closing remarks. Why do you want this job now?
So I have a servant's heart. When I originally ran in 2022, it was because I wasn't satisfied with the things that I was seeing in the school system and in the country as a whole at the time. If anybody that knows me prior to this, you would never have seen me sitting in this position. But I stepped out of my box and I did what I felt like God led me to do. With that being said, it has been my honor and privilege to serve Onslow County Schools, students, parents, staff, and our community as a school board member. My work and efforts have demanded an enormous amount of dedicated time, and there have been countless challenges over the course of my 4-year tenure. Through it all, my focus, passion, and determination to make a positive difference, especially where school safety is concerned, has never wavered. As I'm nearing the end of my term on the school board, I have given much careful consideration about seeking another term and have come to the conclusion that I have more to give and offer, and my work for the district is not yet completed. Thank you.
Thank you. And then our final closing remarks. Bill Lanier, why do you want this job at this moment in time?
When this forum started off, and my mind went hazy because I don't like talking about myself. Someone says, what about you? And I just draw a blank. But primarily when I first ran, I ran because I was asked to. I ran because I was told that I was needed. This time, I was asked to, and I'm told that I'm needed. So this is what we're up against. In recent years, there's been enormous change in the landscape of public education. Even as our county and city local school administrative units remain a major educational resource amid public school units, like charter schools, greater attention is needed to meet student needs and parental rights as required by law in the wake of social awakening and on standards of curriculum and educational resources, content, and during the post-COVID era. So as our schools should be an environment unencumbered by social issues, but where learning is enhanced through more flexible models and methods, sensitive parental authority and guidance, and animate on student success and outcomes. The challenges before us in the coming years demand that our focus is all the more stringent as the district's population continues to rise.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all of our candidates for participating in today's forum.
Thank you. Thank you to Jared and Lachey for your work today. Candidates, I want to thank you for your professionalism and your decorum. And best of luck to all of you in the upcoming election. We also want to thank the City of Jacksonville for the use of these facilities and their fine media services folks, and of course, our sponsor, the Jacksonville Board of Realtors. Now, those watching, if you missed any part of Forum Onslow, just check the listings for G10 for the rebroadcast times and date. And folks, remember, your vote is your voice in matters that are important to our teachers, school system staff, parents, and students. Absentee ballot request forms are available online at the Onslow County Board of Elections website, as well as the dates, times, and places for early one-stop voting. Election Day is March 3rd from 6:30 to 7:30 at your local precinct. On behalf of the Jacksonville Chamber of Commerce, thank you for joining us for this forum, and we are adjourned.